All right, welcome back. Today, we're heading deep into the ancient world, back to a place called Haran. I want you to picture this, a huge, sun-bleached sky over these dusty, windswept plains. You can almost hear the bleating of thousands of sheep. This isn't just some old storybook setting. This is a real place where a family's entire future is about to be forged in a fire of jealousy, struggle, and believe it or not, some serious hope. Let's dive in.
And bam! The story just explodes right out of the gate with this gut-wrenching cry from Rachel to her husband Jacob. "Give me children, or I shall die." Whoa! I mean, that's not just someone saying, "I'd like to have a baby." This is a cry from the deepest part of her soul, filled with years of pain. And that one sentence, it's the spark that lights the fuse for everything that's about to happen.
So what's really going on here? Well, at the heart of this family, there's a silent war being fought. It's between two sisters, Rachel and Leah, who are both married to the same man, Jacob. They're living under one roof, but they might as well be on different planets. Yeah, it's this incredibly painful, perfectly balanced problem. It's like a puzzle where each sister has the exact piece the other one is desperate for. On one side, you've got Leah. She has sons, lots of them. But what she really wants more than anything is the deep, true love that Jacob so clearly has for her sister. And on the other side, there's Rachel. She has all of Jacob's love, but her arms are empty. Each one has what the other one would die for, and it's creating this perfect storm of jealousy.
So Rachel, feeling completely backed into a corner, decides to do something that might sound, well, really weird to us. She gives her handmaid, a servant named Bilhah, to Jacob. Now, you gotta understand, in their culture, this was a totally normal thing to do. The deal was, any baby born from this would legally and socially belong to Rachel. It was her way of trying to build her family and secure her future.
But here's the thing. This move doesn't bring peace to the family, not even close. Instead, it's like pouring gasoline on a fire. The quiet, simmering rivalry just explodes into a full-blown competition, a sad and desperate baby race where kids become trophies in this family feud. And after that, things start happening fast. First, Rachel's handmaid, Bilhah, has a son named Dan. Then another, Naphtali. Well, Leah sees this, and she's not about to be left behind. So she gives her handmaid, Zilpah, to Jacob. And boom, Zilpah has Gad, and then Asher. Just like that, 4 new sons are born, and with each one, the tension in this family just gets cranked up another notch.
So just when you think things couldn't get any more dramatic, the biggest fight yet breaks out. And it's not over love or status, it's over a plant. Yeah, you heard me. Leah's oldest son, Reuben, finds these weird plants in a field called mandrakes. Rachel sees them and desperately begs for some, and it leads to this huge argument between the sisters. So, what on earth are mandrakes?
Okay, so in the ancient world, people believed mandrakes were like a superpower plant. They thought the root had this special, almost magical ability to help a woman get pregnant. For Rachel, who felt like she'd tried everything, these weren't just some weird-looking fruits. They were hope, her last shot, and she was willing to trade literally anything to get her hands on them.
But here's the heartbreaking twist. The mandrakes don't work for Rachel. Instead, Leah is the one who ends up having more children. First, a son named Issachar, then another son, Zebulun, and finally, a daughter, Dinah. And you can just imagine, with every new baby born to Leah, Rachel's feeling of being a failure must have felt absolutely crushing.
Now, after all of this human effort, all the competition, the handmaids, the folk remedies, after all of that has failed, the story suddenly gets very quiet, and the whole focus shifts from what people are trying to do to what God is about to do. After all those years, after all the noise and the family drama, we get these 4 simple, beautiful words, and God remembered Rachel. Now, this doesn't mean God forgot about her. It means it was finally time. It was her moment. Her prayers were about to be answered on God's schedule, not her own.
And the result of God remembering her? 1. A son. Rachel, at long last, gives birth to her very own child. She names him Joseph, which means God has added, because she was so grateful for what she was given and so hopeful for the future. And let me tell you, this one kid, he is going to change everything.
Now, Joseph's birth is a massive turning point, not just for Rachel, but for Jacob too. It's like a switch flips inside him. He's not just a worker anymore. He's the father of a huge family, the leader of a nation in the making. And this brings us to the next big chapter in our story, Jacob's plan to finally get free from this tricky father-in-law, Laban.
Okay, put yourself in Jacob's shoes for a second.
He has worked for Laban for 20 years. 20! He's been cheated, he's been tricked, he's been taken advantage of. But now, with his own family growing, he finally decides enough is enough. He goes to Laban and says, "It's time. Let me take my family and go home. I need to build a life for us."
Of course, Laban, who is pretty sneaky, knows that Jacob is the reason he's gotten so rich, so he does not want him to leave. So they make a deal. And Jacob comes up with this really clever plan. He says, "Okay, go through all your flocks and take out any animal that's speckled, spotted, or dark. From now on, any new babies that are born with those markings, those will be my payment." Laban thinks this is the deal of a lifetime for him and agrees right away.
But here's what Laban doesn't know. Jacob is not the same scared kid who ran away from home all those years ago. He's learned a thing or two, and he has a plan. He's about to use his God-given wisdom to totally outsmart the master trickster himself.
So what was his genius plan? It's brilliant. First, he takes these tree branches and peels streaks into the bark, making them look striped. Then, he puts those striped branches in the water troughs where the animals drink. Now, this wasn't magic, it was smart observation. He knew the strongest, healthiest sheep and goats would mate right there by the water. And finally, he made sure only the strongest animals were breeding in front of his striped sticks. It was basically an ancient, super smart way of making sure he got the strongest, best, and most colorful animals for his own flock.
So, did Jacob's strategy pay off? Oh boy, did it ever. The result of his cleverness and sheer hard work was more successful than anyone could have possibly imagined.
The results were just off the charts. The Bible says Jacob became exceedingly prosperous. He had huge flocks, tons of servants, camels, donkeys, the whole shebang. Through his own smarts and God's blessing, the man who showed up in Haran with nothing but the clothes on his back and a walking stick was now way richer than the guy who had been cheating him for 2 decades. This wasn't just about getting rich, this was about justice. Jacob finally flipped the script.
So let's zoom out. What can we learn from this wild, ancient story about family drama and clever shepherding? Well, it's actually a pretty powerful lesson about how we handle the things we don't have and how we use the gifts we do have. It's all about strengthening our character, what we like to call improving the dimensions of who we are.
And that brings us to our challenge for the week. We call it a Midas challenge. Midas is a Hebrew word for our character traits. The biggest problem for Rachel and Leah was jealousy, right? They were totally focused on what the other one had. So, our challenge is to fight jealousy by practicing something called hakarat hatov. It's a fancy-sounding phrase that just means recognizing the good. So here's the mission. Every single day this week, everyone in your family has to share one specific good thing, one blessing that they're grateful for.
And that really leaves us with one final big question. This story shows us 2 very different ways to handle a problem. Rachel and Leah mostly focused on what they were missing, and it just led to more and more pain. Jacob, on the other hand, when he was stuck, used his wisdom and creativity to build a better future. So the question for all of us is, when we feel stuck or when we feel that sting of jealousy, which path are we going to choose? Thank you for joining us for this complete journey through the Pardes. We hope these ancient truths help you and your family improve your own dimensions this week. If you enjoyed this full chapter deep dive, please like, subscribe, and share which part of the journey touched your soul in the comments. We'll see you in the next chapter.